Amazon adds 2 new Echoes, but does away with encryption on the Fire OS. Padre is here to extol the virtues of the Raspberry Pi. Jason Howell is live from the Launch Festival in San Francisco, where he talked to a robot barista. If you have an Amazon Echo, you might want to disable it for the next hour, unless you wanted to order some stuff when we talk about it. All that and more on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com. Hi, everybody. It's time for our annual audience survey. We'd really like to hear from you. It helps us understand our audience better, know what you like and don't like, how you listen to the show. It also helps us tell advertisers what kind of people listen. But I promise you, your feedback is always kept personally anonymous. All you have to do is visit twit.tv/survey and let us know what you think. It'll just take a few minutes, and it'll help us make Twit even better. We really appreciate your support and any help you can give us. twit.tv/survey.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1462, recorded Thursday, March 3rd, 2016. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Score Big. Pay less for quality seats to your favorite sporting and music events. Go to scorebig.com, click on the microphone, and enter promo code TNT to save $20 off your first ticket purchase. And by PillPack, a full-service pharmacy that combines convenient packaging, modern technology, and personalized service to make your life easier. Visit pillpack.com/twit to save $20 on vitamins and OTCs when you transfer your prescriptions. And by NatureBox. NatureBox is dedicated to making smart, delicious snacking easy. They have over 100 ridiculously delicious snacks that get delivered directly to your doorstep. Visit naturebox.com/twit to get 50% off your first box now. Hello and welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we talk about all the tech news with people who think deeply about technology. I am Megan Morrone.
And I'm Father Robert Ballecer.
And today, our guest is Natali Morris of NataliMorris.net. She does a lot of financial services. She's been on this network long before I came back. So, Natali, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. Good to be back on Twit.
So, tell us a little bit about what you've been working on now.
Okay. So I do technology coverage for NBC. I'm a freelancer for CNBC and MSNBC as well. And then on NataliMorris.com is my personal site where I do a lot of financial writing. I write about personal finance and goal setting and wealth building inside your family.
Great. Well, we are excited that you're going to be here to talk technology. And Jason Howell, who's usually here, is at the Launch Festival. We'll hear from him a little bit later. And I'm sure everyone knows you, Father Robert. But if not...
I've been hanging around the network for a while. I just started showing up, and so they figured as long as I'm here, they might as well put me to work. And I do a couple of shows on the Twit TV network. Know How, which is our DIY maker show. We do that twice a week. And then This Week in Enterprise Tech, which was the first show I ever did coming on to Twit.
Well, excellent. And as most people know, the Raspberry Pi 3 came out earlier this week. You had it in your possession when it came out, so we couldn't talk about it. But now you're going to show us around the Raspberry Pi 3 a little bit.
Yes, indeed. It is an exciting little device. We had it when we were at Mobile World Congress. We couldn't talk about it. It was under NDA, but it is an amazing little device. People who have been aficionados of Raspberry Pi, they know that it's the $35 computer. This was the one that's really changed the industry. It made building a computer not just easy, but also inexpensive. And this is actually a big step forward. Imagine this being over 10 times faster than the original Pi, but the same price, with the same setup as the Raspberry Pi 2, but now it also includes wireless functionality on the board. Now, this is something that I think every maker is going to want to build on. And yeah, we've got one. We've got one for use on Know How.
Cool. Well, we're going to talk about it a little more later. But first, let's get to today's news. There are 2 new Amazon devices you can buy today, but Amazon is not making it easy for you to buy them. Let's start with the Echo Dot. It's a miniature Amazon Echo that you can attach to a Bluetooth speaker. It's half the price of the Echo at $90, and the Amazon Tap is a $130 Echo that's portable. I ordered the Dot right away. I had to order it through my Amazon Echo. You have to ask your Alexa to order it for you. Hopefully I didn't say it in a way that you guys all just ordered one if you have an Alexa and are listening to this. But yeah, Natali, I know you also have an Echo. Do you love your Echo?
I like my Echo very much. Yes. I don't know if love is right. We like each other. We're good roommates.
We're in deep light.
We tolerate each other.
I think sometimes it's tolerating at my house too, because she doesn't always answer the questions the way that I would want her to. And if you do want to order the Dot, they're available now, but they won't be ordered, and you can order it now, but you'll get it in a month.
Did you get the audio warning that the Dot was available?
No, did you?
It was weird. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and I was in my studio. I was just tapping away, and suddenly Alexa starts talking to me. I'm like, I didn't trigger it. What's going on? And it was, did you know there are now new devices with Alexa available? And
Wait.
Really?
She said that in the middle of the night?
Well, I mean, I was working, and I guess it had learned my patterns enough to know that at 2:00 I'm up, and I'm just looking. Wait, did I just get advertising?
That's weird. Really? You
Yeah.
don't think you triggered her at all?
The only thing I can think of is I did get the email as well, and I said, click more, and so maybe it used that as saying, oh, he wants to know more, and so it sent it to my Alexa. That was, part of me was saying, this is creepy. The other half of me was saying, that's kind of cool integration.
Because she doesn't otherwise talk involuntarily.
Never, which is why when she started talking, I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I find with Siri, it's a lot easier to say something that sounds like the word for when you say, when you trigger,
Right.
I'll just say it, hey Siri. It's that there's a lot of words that sound like that, but with
Are there like what words?
I
What do you
can't,
think,
I don't
like,
know what I've
seriously?
said. Yeah, something. Yeah, seriously. There's Dennis Leary. There's all kinds of. I don't know. I guess I'm saying a lot.
We're triggering devices all around the internet right now. I hope we all know that. That's a bad thing.
Yeah, so I mean, I ordered one because I wanted one because it's smaller. Because I have my Echo in the kitchen. This small device, if you're watching the video, you can see it now. I think it's going to be perfect by the bedside table because it also connects to a Bluetooth speaker. That speaker in there is not. I mean, speaker aficionados will say that the Echo speaker, the normal one, is not great, but it's been fine for me. I listen to music on it all the time. But the small one is not a good speaker, but it'll hook to the Bluetooth speaker, to the speakers that I have already in my bedroom, and then it'll be an alarm. It'll just be, if I want to listen to the news right before I go to bed, and I'm excited.
I'm actually
Yeah, for
happy
that
with
reason,
this.
I got you. I guess. And I hadn't thought of it that way. It's like to keep it next to your head, though. Because then if she starts talking involuntarily in the middle of the night and you are not awake, that's not okay.
Yeah, I have never heard of her speaking without being called.
Alexa will be whispering into your ear at night, putting subliminal suggestions. Do you want
Right.
to order that new car?
Yeah.
It'll be a brand new
your
source of revenue for
Prime.
Amazon.
Yeah, and she'll be able to control your Nest soon and your Honeywell thermostat. So, if thinks you're working too late, just turn the air conditioning or the heat on and make you go to bed. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
Yeah, so you can order one. If you want to order one and you don't already have one, you can use your Amazon app on your phone and search for Echo Dot, and then you can swipe right to add it to your cart and buy one. And everyone was really amazed too that it was only $90. But when I bought the Echo, it was only $90. It started small, so then it went up. Now it's about $200. So
It's going to inevitably get cheaper because, it's just a Wi-Fi connected device. Like it's not, it's not a big piece of technology. What it can do is pretty great. But I can't see, this is like a Kindle. It's just, they're just going to get better and better at making these.
yeah, and they're going to do more. They're like a Trojan horse. I mean, that sounds bad, but but if you think of it in a good way, it's already there in your house, and they're just going to push technology into it.
Well, that's the thing. The Echo and Alexa was the stealth product of 2015 because people started they bought it like you. I bought mine on sale. It was like a Black Friday deal or whatever Black Thursday, whatever they call that, and I got it for $90. And it was interesting at first. I thought, okay, it's a speaker. I could ask it to tell me a joke. But then I started finding all the different automation tie-ins, and I said, this is an amazing piece of equipment. If they could work that same sort of wonder, that lightning in a bottle into the smaller devices, then yeah, they're going to become ubiquitous. Everyone will have one everywhere.
Yeah, and that we're showing the video of the Amazon Tap or the Alexa Tap. I'm not sure what it's something Tap, and it's wireless, but you have to have a connection. I mean, you have to have Wi-Fi connection to use it. Anthony, our technical director, he ordered one of the small ones. He's going to figure out how it's going to control his car. That's his project.
And it doesn't work until you actually have to touch it. It's not constantly listening for commands, right?
Right. The new one, yeah. You have to press a button.
For battery life, it can't just be listening to you.
Right.
And that might actually be a privacy benefit.
Yeah, it might.
Yeah. Speaking of privacy, let's move from little pucks and echoes to something in security. Now, while the tech world is rushing to polish their encryption bona fides and gird their loins for legal battle, one major player has taken a different path to tackling the encryption question. Just remove it. Amazon announced today that they are deprecating support for device encryption in the latest revision of Fire OS. Users who start the upgrade to Fire OS version 5 are informed that they can either keep their encrypted device or stay on Fire OS 4 or decrypt their device and upgrade to Fire OS 5. While privacy advocates are decrying the move and calling it part of the chilling effect of recent government versus tech cases, Amazon has a simpler explanation. People just weren't using it. This is an interesting story because a lot of companies are in this sort of panic mode of, are we going to get hit next? Is the DOJ going to come after us? Do we have protection against being demanded to open up our encryption? And it does, at least on the surface, seem Amazon's just said, it's not worth it. We're just going to take it out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we're talking about all these devices that we pepper our houses with that are listening to us all the time. Apparently, yours is also speaking and offering advertising in the middle of the night to you.
It knows me. Yeah.
But this is Fire OS. That like the Alexa doesn't run Fire OS, so that's different.
All right. And the other thing about this is when they were asked by Ars Technica about this, there were some very interesting comments made by the Amazon representative. First, that they said, look, this has nothing to do with the current government cases. This is entirely because customers weren't using it. But the way that they worded it, they said that they found that customers weren't using the enterprise feature. So Amazon considers basic encryption an enterprise feature. It's not a consumer feature. Now, that I found disconcerting because I want them to consider encryption as a basic feature on every bit of information they may ever have on me. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how to take that.
Well, I mean, people aren't really using the Fire phone. Like that is true. That part of it is accurate. But I mean, yeah, people are using tablets. I mean, you have Fire tablets. A lot of kids have Fire tablets.
Natali, let me ask you this, though. Do you have any Fire devices? And if you do, did you know that they could be encrypted at the device level?
I guess I sort of assumed that they would be. I'm surprised. I'm surprised to put so much like choice in the hands of the consumer because the consumer doesn't know.
Right.
They don't know any better. It's better to just make the high, like when we have these conversations about Facebook, we always usually agree that put the highest level of data protection available by default. I do have some Fire devices. Actually, I have had. I don't think I have any longer. I'm kind of scratching my head at this move, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's weird because the settings to enable device encryption are buried. You really have to go digging for it. And that leads me to believe that people probably would have turned it on.
The settings on the Fire devices are buried, period.
Yeah,
they're not
all
easy
the settings.
to find.
All the settings.
Yeah, why? Why?
But
they don't want you to change it.
Natali, you brought up an important point, which is, shouldn't this have just been on by default? Shouldn't they just assume that people are going to want to encrypt their device?
And most people don't even know what that means. Mm-hmm. So, just give them the most protection possible because what happens when something bad happens and then you have to explain yourself, and then it's going to be all over the news and people learn this in a bad way.
In a certain sense, I like stories like this because it gets us out of the geek microcosm that we tend to live in. We are a tech network. We deal with a tech audience, and they're very savvy, and so they understand these issues. But the typical person, the average person who buys one of these because they've been told it's really good for their kid and they can put parent protections, they need to know that, no, this is actually important. Your kid, you probably should encrypt all the data that's on there. I mean, as you mentioned, when you start to think about how much data we actually have on these devices, it gets a little scary.
Yeah. I am guessing that they made this decision prior to the fact that, like, every day anyone turned on ABC or NBC or any network, you'd be hearing the word encryption and how it affects normal people in their daily lives. You hear that so much now in the news, and I'm guessing that Amazon made this decision before that.
Probably. I mean, this is a kind of decision that takes a long time to do. This wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. This was Amazon looking at their dev team saying, well, where can we cut corners? No one's using this feature, so let's stop developing it.
Well, speaking of...
Do you think that this is indicative of them just not investing in Fire then, the OS? Like
that's hard to say.
The beginning of the end.
I mean, it has found an audience. There are people who like Fire OS devices, but I'm wondering if, since it is a branch of Android, is Amazon saying it's just not worth it for us to do our own development anymore?
Right.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, Zune had an audience too, but Microsoft eventually was like, nah, we're not doing this.
Yeah, it does seem like the Echo and those related products are what they're pushing now, beyond just everything that they sell in their stores and their drones and, all their other ways they're going to get all the more things that we buy to us. So let's move back to the FBI debate with Apple, which we are continuing to talk about. Today was the day that people could submit briefs to the court, and Reuters sources say that Alphabet Inc.'s Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and several other internet and technology companies filed joint legal briefs today in support of Apple and their encryption battle with the government. Apple also posted a powerful letter from the husband of one of the victims of the attack, an environmental health specialist for the county. She was a victim. She was shot 3 times, and she survived, but she might have died if she hadn't been in the restroom at the time of the attack. And her husband wrote this letter saying, that he supports Apple too, that he really doesn't think that any information is on this phone. I mean, anyone who listens to the show has heard me talk on and on about my feelings about this case. So what do you guys think?
I like what happened on Tuesday and all the discussions that it's pushed forward. So when you had the vice president get in front of Congress and essentially say, look, of course, Apple does want to fight terrorism. Of course, Apple wants to help law enforcement. But then said, but what you're asking for is not for us to open a phone. You're asking us to fundamentally break the privacy that we promised our customers. And then the last part of his presentation, and I think this is the one that's really inspiring the conversation that's been leaking out the last couple of days, is to say, look, we're coming to you in Congress because right now the FBI is trying to use a 200-year-old law in the digital age. You need to get on the ball. You need to figure out what are our rights and our responsibilities in the digital age, and you need to codify it into a law so that tech companies like Apple and Microsoft and Google can actually do the right thing rather than taking a stab in the dark thinking, is this where we draw the line or is this where we draw the line? So yeah, that's again, I like the conversation because it's going beyond just tech circles. Regular people are starting to pick up on the story and say, oh, what is this? This is my privacy? That's good? Okay, I'll listen.
What about you, Natali? I mean, you report for a mainstream network. What's the conversation there like?
I think the general consensus is that Apple is really sticking to their guns here, and to see the rest of Silicon Valley rally around them. I think the knee-jerk reaction was like, oh, these are terrorists. Let's just, break all of their privacy. But when we all realize the implication that it has on the rest of us, it seems to be that the common conception of it is that this is a privacy worth protecting, because compromising this is such a slippery slope that no one wants to really go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should be noticed there were 17 internet companies that submitted a brief together. They included Airbnb, Twitter, and other people, ACLU, EFF. Samsung did not file a brief. They sort of made this kind of vague, we support people's privacy, but they did not come out and file a brief like everyone else did. It's interesting because the big companies were slow to, I think they just wanted to take the temperature of the general public before they stood up, and now it does seem like they're all kind of banding together in some way.
They were, but it's funny because we're in such a negative election cycle that the tech companies were slow to articulate, maybe because they didn't know the implications that would come upon them later on. But we see a lot of politicians that were quick to posture about it. And, there was that city, I think somewhere in the Southwest, that was like, we're not going to upgrade our iPhones anymore. And, there's Donald Trump saying no one should buy Apple phones from, and I think
even though he's tweeting from an iPhone, which is fantastic.
Right. It's more than just that. Really gets under my skin. It's not for politicians to ring in on what they don't understand. And there's an expletive in there somewhere that really makes me mad. It's more about just so much legislation around technology comes from people who don't know what the heck they're talking about. And that bothers me more than anything else.
Something that's been said several times on this network is they don't understand you can't legislate math. That's what encryption is. So unless you understand that you're talking about math, you're not going to get that you can't just pass a law saying we're not doing math anymore. And I think you're right, Natalie. I think there are people who they're just taking the talking points. And right now, it's a fantastically powerful talking point to say, I am tough on security and I want to beat the terrorist and I will do anything it takes. And if you take a step back, those are actually horrific words. Those are horrific statements. But because of the climate we're living in right now, it's a great whipping dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the judge in Brooklyn was really, just took the right tactic, in my opinion, just saying, not really being involved in the technology at all, just saying, you can't use the All Writs Act, this, from 1889 or 1879, you can't use this to demand that Apple make this for you. And, they said nothing about whether we should have phones that are encrypted, beyond where the FBI could ever get into. They didn't even get into something that they didn't, I'm sure they understand it, but that wasn't where they went. They were like, you just can't use the All Writs Act. And, I hope that the same happens next.
I think the FBI does understand what they're asking for. I think the politicians that are posturing on top of this issue don't. I just want to make that clear. It's them. I'm crap talking, not the FBI.
Yes.
To be like,
uh-oh.
Sorry about that.
well, we'll show you what we understand.
All right, let's move to a slightly happier topic. Instead of talking about the FBI and encryption, let's make fun of people. Now, remember when it was cool to mock people who were playing Rock Band, but the people who were playing didn't care because the game was so much fun? Well, throw in a set of VR goggles and some flappy paddles in place of plastic instruments, and you've got the VR revolution in a nutshell. Eva Horth, a design researcher for VR company Rat Lab, posted a video of her watching a coworker test Leap Motion's latest VR software, and it immediately went viral, with a large chunk of YouTube and Reddit thinking that she hated VR. But she insists that she's a proponent of VR who just happens to recognize one simple truth. Mainly, from the outside, people wearing VR goggles look ridiculous. Of course, a meme isn't really tech news, but what is worthy of note is the sentiment that surrounded the meme with mob quickness, based on the question, should we mock VR, embrace VR, or both? Now, this is actually a more serious question than it might sound at first, because VR was everywhere at Mobile World Congress. It was the wearable of 2016. Last year, everyone had to have a watch. This year, watches were there, but in the background, it was all VR. Samsung, Nokia, Intel, they all brought out products to showcase their smarts in this new space. And even though everyone I ever took a picture of wearing a VR goggle looked dorky and ridiculous, when I put them on myself, they were fantastic.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's one of these things where I will make fun of everyone wearing a VR goggle, but I will want to put it on.
It's got to become, the line on Sex and the City, it's your secret single behavior. Things that you only do with no one else in the room, like wearing a face mask in my case.
Exactly. I was telling Megan before the show, I was at the HTC booth, the Vive, and they had a gaming pavilion, but the gaming pavilion was really just a series of low cubicles with everyone facing away from each other, all wearing the helmet. So even though in the virtual world, which you could see, they were face-to-face, hand-to-hand, doing combat, they're all facing away, just doing this. And, you look, I don't see how anyone could look at that and not say that is ridiculous. But when I tried the demonstration, it was so much fun, I didn't want to take it off.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two things going on here. First of all, with Google Glass, everybody made fun of the people that used Google Glass. It was, they called them glass holes. It wasn't just the device. It was like the person that suddenly became mocked, which I think is really fascinating. And partly, I think it's because people don't like when your eyes are covered. That's an issue for people, I think, when it's hard to communicate when people can't see each other's eyes. And so I think that's what's going on here. I also think we talked before about AR, like augmented reality, and that's different. It's not only does it not have to cover your eyes like that. If you see, the HoloLens, it's much more stylish, and it doesn't cover your whole eyes like that. And also, it's not as isolating.
I don't know how you feel about this, Natalie, but I am much more excited by AR than I am by VR. I like VR. I love the demonstrations that I've seen so far. I want to play with the set when it gets into the studio. But the idea of overlaying a digital layer on the actual world, that is so much more attractive to me than just putting on a helmet so I can see 360 views.
Than blocking out your world.
Precisely,
right.
Precisely. What's
There's
your
no
take?
reason to put, like when you're in the presence of other people, why do this, right? I guess if no one's around and you have no one to interact with and you want to experience something, that's fine. But, it just sort of exacerbates the persona of gamers, is that they're just all in their head and all in their own world. And, but yeah, I think AR is so much more, you're right. It's like a layer on top of the reality we have now. You still can interact with other people. And to use this for, like what we're seeing right now in this video, or learning or bringing people into worlds that they wouldn't have otherwise have seen, or decades and eras and all of that. That's super exciting. But VR is a toy to use when you are alone.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, I don't want to put down VR, because even though it is a toy, it is a fabulous toy. Mm-hmm. But when I look at AR, I think that's a tool. That's not a toy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the things that you do in the privacy of your own home, like, for example, sleeping, security expert Graham Cluley said today that there is a new tool that lets you track the sleeping habits of your Facebook friends. Soren Louv Jansen is a developer at Tradeshift, posted the tool on GitHub. Now, I guess I kind of know how this works, because if you're on Facebook, you can see, like, there's a list on the side of everybody that's still, like, currently on Facebook, which is always a little bit creepy to me. But how does this really work?
Right. So what he figured out was a lot of these tools, Facebook Messenger and others that are available, you can use it to ping users. So he wrote a script, a piece of software that basically uses the different tools to ping his friends. And by finding out when they were and were not at their computer, or when they have just posted, he was able to come up with this profile. And this is actually a great use of what we would call, big data or Internet of Things analytics. The whole idea is take disparate data sets and then make correlations. In this case, he was able to say, oh, look, it's very clear when they're sleeping. I can look at this data and see those long periods of inactivity, and I know that they're away from their computer. And because my friend is addicted to his or her computer, they must have been asleep. So this is the kind of data that we leave out there, even when we're not actually leaving data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, do we take from this that the last thing that people do before they go to sleep is look at Facebook, and then wake up, first thing, look at Facebook?
Unfortunately, yes. And this is why my phone is not next to my bed. Mm-hmm. My phone is actually in my studio, because I know that if it's near my bed, if I happen to wake up in the middle of the night, I will reach over just to look at the time. I will turn on the phone, and the next thing you know, I've been up for 4 hours checking Twitter.
That's like pregnancy.
Yeah. I'll take your word for that. but I mean, am I alone in that? I mean, it's so addictive. It's like, oh, I'm in my bed. Let's find out what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Am I the only one who's done that?
No. Thinking like, I'll go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and this is a stupid anecdote, but my son, he drew this. He's a really amazing artist. So I posted a picture that he had drawn in his drawing class. And in the middle of the night, I got up to go to the bathroom, and I was thinking, like, wonder who else commented on how talented my son is. So dumb. Why am I thinking this in the middle of the night? I should just go to sleep. But I didn't check it. No, I don't keep my phone near my head at night either. I'm afraid of the radiation in my brain.
I broke my rule last night because I woke up at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, whatever it was, and I couldn't sleep. So 5 minutes after I woke up, I went to the studio and I grabbed my phone and I said, "Oh, I'm awake." And then I realized, oh, well, now I am awake because I just checked Twitter. Great.
If you said that out loud, that's why Alexa's talking to you.
Yeah.
Maybe I did talk to Alexa. Maybe I was so tired. I said, "Alexa, tell me about the latest deals." And that's what happened.
Now everyone listening to this got the latest deals.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But that is why I want
about how if we look at an electronic, the blue light has now stimulated a part of our brain that wants us to wake up and makes it even harder. So I've really, really tried to keep all the light out of my room for that reason alone.
Mm-hmm.
There are actually no electronics in my room. The room I use for sleeping. I even have blackout curtains because I sleep at weird hours, and sometimes it works. I think I'm still picking up the Wi-Fi from the other room. I think that's actually coming into my brain. That's what's happening.
Well, that's why I ordered one of the small Echoes, because then I have an alarm clock and I don't have to keep my phone by the bed. I mean, it's another piece of electronics that I might, ask in the middle of the night to check Facebook for me.
I had to raid the we call it the dead Jesuit closet. It's where when Jesuits die, all their possessions go there. Wanted to find an old clock with the red LEDs. Those are so hard to find now.
Yeah.
And that's what I use instead of a phone. Because people in the chat room are mentioning that when you see that blue light, it messes up your rhythms. Mm-hmm. Your brain thinks it's time to get up.
Yeah. And I don't think the science is in on what electronics do to our bodies, and especially as we sleep. Like, I won't keep these things near my kids, especially when they're babies and their skulls haven't fused completely yet. And I just don't think we know enough. I just don't think it's safe to. We have these on our bodies all day long. Like, I think we should give our bodies a break because every time your phone reads something, or even like my acupuncturist was like, I wouldn't wear that Apple Watch to sleep, and I was like, it's out, I know sometimes I get hate mail for saying this on Twitter, but I just don't think we should be Wi-Fi apologists. We don't know enough yet to keep it near. And that's what makes me a little nervous about that Alexa. The small ones, I wouldn't keep that near my head while I sleep.
All right, let's talk about net neutrality.
Let's do that. You know what? Net neutrality is back in the news, and guess what? Surprise! The story involves Comcast. The internet service and content giant has been called out by Public Knowledge, a DC-based nonprofit that advocates for choice in the digital marketplace, for attempting to evade FCC net neutrality rules by zero-rating Comcast-owned content. While many of Comcast customers are capped at 300 gigabytes of transfers a month, Stream, a Comcast product that offers all the major broadcast networks and HBO on laptops, tablets, and phones inside the customers' homes, does not count against this cap. This would be a clear violation of the FCC rules, except for one thing. Comcast claims that though the streaming uses TCP/IP, it doesn't travel over the internet, with all the transfers happening inside Comcast's cable network. Now, this is actually really, really important, because this is the test of the net neutrality rules that were put into play. People for a long time have decried exactly this move from Comcast, because it is such a large vertical provider. They own not just the transport network, but they own the content, and therefore they can prioritize and they can favor their content over the content from other networks like YouTube, Netflix, Amazon, etc. So this is going to be, I think, the first real test of the FCC's backbone. They have said that they're going to look at zero rating on a case-by-case basis. They didn't want to lay down hard and fast rules, so this is their first chance to really sink their teeth into what looks to be a violation of the spirit of net neutrality.
So Stream TV doesn't travel over the internet?
No. Well, see, this is where it gets tricky, because Comcast is such a large network. They do pass internet traffic over their networks. They peer with other networks. Stream is TCP/IP, which is the language of the internet. That's how packets get routed around. But what Comcast is claiming is it's only happening inside the network. It never leaves the edge of their network. And in this sense, they're saying, well, that means we're exempt. Since this doesn't involve the internet, the FCC shouldn't have any say in how we manage the traffic inside our network. And to be fair, when the FCC passed the net neutrality regulations, one of the things that they made clear was they were really looking for transparency at the peering exchanges. They wanted to make sure that the large players were playing on a level playing field. And Comcast is essentially saying, we're not on anyone else's playing field. This is just us, which is why it gets complicated. Now, one of the wrinkles here is when they bought NBC, they agreed to a bunch of stipulations. And one of the stipulations was Section 3, Paragraph 1. And I'm going to quote this. They said, Comcast shall not discriminate in video programming distribution on the basis of affiliation or non-affiliation of a video. People are looking at this and saying, well, that's obviously what they're doing. If they're going to say that a Netflix video will count against their cap, but a Comcast video won't, then they violated the agreement that they signed when they bought NBC.
Okay, so you agree then with Comcast?
No, I think this is actually where the FCC was smart. Because they said they were going to take it on a case-by-case basis, Comcast can say that technically it's a loophole, but the FCC will say there was no loophole for you to go through. We will judge on a case-by-case basis. They actually already did look at one. They looked at T-Mobile. T-Mobile looked like they were doing the same thing. They offered a 0 rating for Netflix and some other content.
In other words, John program?
Yeah. So if I play Netflix on my phone, I don't get charged on my cap, against my cap. But what the FCC saw with T-Mobile was T-Mobile didn't own that content. This is the danger of Comcast being such a big company. It's like you are such a big vertical, you are also a big target. And if you're going to prioritize the content that you own over the content that you license, then you're in violation of the spirit of the rule. Was that a big enough rant? I'm sorry, I get very ranty on net neutrality. I don't know how much net neutrality you cover, Natalie, because I know it was done to death, but every time it comes up, it just kind of raises a little rant flag for me.
I can see that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Well, you have to do what you say you're going to do, right? So I understand.
Yeah, and that actually you could reduce it to that, which is, hey, Comcast, did you sign this? Okay, then you can't do that.
Right.
You told us you weren't going to do it, so you can't do it.
Like, don't pretend you didn't know, like you knew you're getting your hand slapped. So, okay, pull back, say, okay, we won't do that.
I imagine someone at Comcast saying, oh, but that was like years ago. Are we still doing that? Oh.
All right. Well, after the break, Padre will talk about some insane things you can build with the new Raspberry Pi 3. But first, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode. Everybody hates ticket scalpers. The tickets are expensive, and sometimes even after you empty your wallet, the tickets aren't even real. It's crushing. But you still don't have to spend your savings next time you want to see Beyonce in concert. How? Just go to scorebig.com. 40% of all live ticket events go unsold. Scorebig is making it easy to attend live events by working directly with your favorite teams and artists to get their unsold seats at unpublished prices. At scorebig.com, you're always guaranteed huge savings by paying much less than what the box office charges for tickets. They have incredible deals on tickets to concerts, sports, Broadway productions, and family-friendly events. To take advantage of these amazing deals, visit scorebig.com and find the event and seats you want, then make an offer with Scorebig's Name a Ticket price feature. You'll receive an answer from Scorebig instantly, and you'll save up to 60% on your tickets. You'll also have the option to pay a fixed price, which is much less expensive than major online ticket resellers. With Scorebig, there are no surprise fees, and you get free shipping. You can even favorite shows and events to be notified on upcoming dates to attend, which is incredibly convenient. So quit overpaying for tickets. Get the tickets you want at prices you can afford with Scorebig. Next time you're planning to attend a game or a show, visit Scorebig first and see how much you can save. Go to scorebig.com, click on the microphone, and enter promo code TNT to save an extra $20 off your first ticket purchase. That's scorebig.com, promo code TNT. So the third iteration of the Raspberry Pi was released earlier this week on Leap Day. I know you told us a little bit about it already, but what do you think so far, and what are you going to do with it? What have you already done with it?
I've been playing with this, and I already like the Raspberry Pi. I've always been a fan of the Raspberry Pi just because of what it represents. It represents an invitation. It's a challenge to people to take it and make something. And the 3 lets you make a lot more. So not only is it faster, Not only does it have the ability to run all the code that you've written for any one of the Pis before, but it also includes wireless. So it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth LE, which means I can make devices like this. So this is a little travel computer. There's actually a case that I have this in. This is designed to go into a car underneath the seat. And with it being completely wireless, it now means I have the ability to have like a streaming network device, but the whole thing cost me $40. Or this is something that we actually built for Know-How. This is one of the Raspberry Pi's official screens. So this is actually this is a 7-inch touch screen. So this is a tablet. We've made a Raspberry Pi tablet, and believe it or not, this thing's pretty quick. And this is a 2. This is not even a 3. So if I put a 3 in here, it's going to be 2.5 times faster. What I've been designing with this is I 3D printed myself some stands because a lot of their components follow some standard templates that I can use when I'm doing my 3D printing design. And I've created a flip down case for the kitchen. So this will actually be up in the countertop until you need it. You push it and it just sort of slides down. Oh. And these are the applications that Raspberry Pi is inviting people to develop. In fact, here, so Megan, this is the actual 3. So we got this before it was launched. It feels like nothing.
Yeah.
But that is actually more powerful than an Amazon Fire tablet.
And it includes encryption.
And it can include encryption, which is fantastic.
Your choice.
Yeah. Natali, do you get a chance to play with any of these, the sort of the makery, geeky DIY toys?
Yeah, I saw a lot of them at the Toy Fair, which I went to about 2 weeks ago. So I really love the idea of it. And just looking at your stand there, that just must feel so good. I haven't made anything myself, but I love the concept of it. I think it's really made to empower people, whereas so much technology, is just like brainless and mindless. And yeah, it's very punk.
Yeah, there's something about being able to say, I made that.
Right.
And, be able to point it, even if it's the silliest thing. Like this, originally what we wanted was we made a portable gaming machine. So this runs an arcade emulator, and that little battery will keep it running for, about 12 hours. So I thought about using this in cars, on the, what do they call this? The video headrest that you have on cars. This would be a great way to put an arcade machine in the back of your car. And again, that whole thing cost me about $40. And the fact that you can make that with just some instructions off the internet, that's cool to me. That's the geeky side of tech.
Well, so there are a lot of like Raspberry Pi clones, like similar, like the Beagle Bone. Is that similar? Is this the best?
Well, I like the Raspberry Pi because it is sort of a complete computer, but we've also been doing a lot of embedded development on Know-How. This is one of the new boards that we're geeking out with. This one is called the Arduino 101. And it's actually based on an Intel, it's called a Curie. It's a Curie chipset. And the whole idea behind this is it's like the Arduino. It will actually use the same shields as Arduino. So if you've built something for an Arduino in the past, it will work on this. But that chip is way more powerful than the Atmel chipset. It includes things like wireless, so it's got Bluetooth and Bluetooth LE. It also has a 6-axis IMU. That's the device that lets you detect motion and acceleration. So with this, I actually created a power glove. Do you remember those old Nintendo power gloves? That I'm going to be using so that it will imitate my hand on a robot arm. It's something I'm built. And again, totally stupid, has no useful purpose whatsoever. But the first time I got it working, you couldn't have removed the smile from my face with a jackhammer.
Tell that to number 5.
Johnny 5 is still alive.
Yeah. You know he is. Have you worked on any home automation or Internet of Things around your house? Like things that someone has not yet automated that you want to?
Shamefully, yes. Actually, the best one that I've done.
Don't tell me a toothbrush your hand brushes your teeth.
That's Oral-B. They actually came out with this. No,
No, they have a toothbrush. I mean, your robotic hand.
Oh. No, I actually came up with something practical. I live in a house of priests, and the laundry room is all the way downstairs, so you have to go up and down 4 flights of steps, and most of the time you get down there, and someone's already got a load in the machine. So I internet connected the machines, so you can log into a web page, and it will tell you whether or not they're in use and when was the last time they finished, so you would know if they're empty. It took me all the 30 minutes to create that.
That's so awesome.
So that's what this tech lets you do.
Yeah. Does it show you who used it last so that you can yell at the person that didn't clean the lint filter?
I actually had that feature built in, and my superior told me to take it out because people didn't like the camera.
Oh, the camera. Yeah.
They're creeped out by that. I'm like, I would be
Because there are some people who think that the next user should empty the lint filter, but that is incorrect, people.
No, it's
you have the impression that you can leave it for the next person. You're wrong, and you need to change your evil ways.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If you were that person who left the napkin in your pocket and it's now lint all over the dryer, it's your job to clean it up. Don't wait for the next person to run another cycle.
And get it on their jeans.
Laundry today.
Yes, exactly. We've covered all the important topics today.
Hashtag first world problems.
Caillou in our chat room wants to know what 3D printer you use to print all of these.
Right now, I'm using it's called a Dremel Idea Builder. But I've got 6 or 7 different 3D printers I cycle through. That's the one I've landed on because it has never jammed. All the other ones have broken at some point, and the Dremel keeps going.
Awesome. All right, well, now it's time to read an email. We got one from Dave. Dave writes, please don't play so many videos on TNT. I assume you have far more video downloads than audio listeners, but for the audio listeners, it is frustrating. Yesterday, you played a video of Andy Rubin's dog and proceeded to talk about it for a few minutes. What is so special about this dog? Is it a robot dog, or were they just treating it like a robot? Was it wearing a robot costume? I am sorry, Dave. I wanted to say I'm sorry, Dave. That's why I picked that email.
We can't do that, Dave.
It is true. We try to do our best. You probably didn't see this Raspberry 3 either. It was a real dog and a robot dog, and that was why it was so exciting. And if you want to see it, Google Andy Rubin's dog versus a robot dog, and you will find this amazing video, and I highly recommend it. But we will keep that in mind. So thank you.
I see it as a feature. When you don't see pictures, your mind can add the pictures, and so you could have imagined any robot dog you can dream of.
Right, but yeah, apparently a dog in a robot costume, which is also awesome. After the break, we'll check in with Jason Howell from the Launch Festival, who's been living the startup life today. But first, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode, PillPack. Does your town still have an old-timey pharmacy with that old couple who asks after your grandparents and remembers the name of your Little League baseball team? There's a soda fountain in the corner and corked bottles of cod liver oil lining the dusty shelves. And you know what else is lining those dusty shelves? Germs. Millions of germs. No matter how quaint your pharmacy is, you will want to try PillPack, the future of pharmacy. It was founded by a second-generation pharmacist, one that might have even grown up in that old-timey pharmacy. But PillPack defines what we love to talk about on this show all the time, technology that's designed to fix problems that you have and deliver a better experience for all of us. Your PillPack arrives in a convenient recyclable dispenser. It has one easy-to-read label that includes an image of each medication and directions. PillPack pre-sorts and delivers your medications and vitamins in easy-to-tear packets. They're individually labeled with the date and time for each dose. PillPack also uses robots and digital imaging technology along with pharmacist oversight to ensure the accuracy of every PillPack. People are still an important part of the equation. PillPack's pharmacists are available 24/7 from the privacy of your own home. No more long lines or awkward conversations at the pharmacy. They also proactively call your doctor for you to manage all your refills so you will never run out. No extra costs beyond your standard copays. Shipping is always free. It's compatible with most major insurance plans, including most forms of Medicare Part D. So when you sign up for PillPack, they make sure that your insurance is compatible before they transfer any of your medications over. There's also a PillPack medication reminder app for the iPhone and the Apple Watch. PillPack is simple, convenient, and modern, and you won't believe how cool it is until you try it. Visit pillpack.com/twit to sign up now. When you use our link and transfer your prescriptions to PillPack, you'll get a credit for $20 worth of vitamins and OTCs. That's pillpack.com/TWIT. So my regular co-host, Jason Howell, is at the Launch Festival today, and he called in. So let's take a look at what he saw.
Hey, thanks, Megan. Hey, take a look behind me. Okay, what you see right there is the Hyperloop. We've talked a little bit about the Hyperloop on Tech News Today before. I'm at Launch here in SF. We've kind of been here. We've got an awesome crew walking around the event all day long today to kind of take a look at just startup life, essentially. There are a ton of startups here from all walks of the industry. We've got robotics, AR, VR, smart home. Obviously, well, I don't know if you consider Hyperloop a startup, but still very cool stuff. In fact, one of the highlights of my day was talking with Shervin Pishavar. He's the founder of Hyperloop Technologies Incorporated. We kind of talked a little bit about the realities of rolling out the Hyperloop to make transportation just faster and easier. Talking about 750 miles per hour traveling through the tube to go from San Francisco to LA in like a half an hour. It's pretty crazy stuff. He had a lot of really interesting stuff to share. Obviously, they're targeting a 2020 date for having an active Hyperloop. I asked him if he thought that was realistic, and of course he said, I wouldn't say if I didn't think that it was. So I'll be very interested to see if that kind of, that produced at scale, and that's just one segment of what they're doing, connected from one point to another, actually comes to fruition in 4 years. It's a tall order, but he seems very confident in that. Some of the other stuff, robotics, really cool thing we saw, something called Cafe X, and it's essentially, I don't know if it's going to put baristas out of business, but it's a automated robotic barista, essentially. So you go up to it, it senses that you're nearby. If you've placed an order, let's say, away from the machine, it senses that you're nearby, it makes your order for you, it distributes it and puts out your coffee. They're working with all local, coffee makers and all that kind of stuff to really kind of make sure that the quality of the coffee is top notch. And it tastes pretty good, but it was really cool to see that robotic arm doing all the work for you, and you're kind of saving some money as well. So, but it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. A lot of stuff with the smart home here. Took a look at actually quite a few things, but probably the highlights for me, a technology company called Naki. And it's this little device that you can, let's say, for example, mount underneath a table. You could set it on top of the table, or you could mount it underneath the table so that nobody sees it. And what it allows you to do is add in functionality so that when someone comes over to the table and does like a bap, bap, like a knock on the table, that could do something like turn on the lights in the house, or who knows? You can play around with that and use your imagination and see what you want a knocking on a table to actually do. It's kind of like the clapper for your table, I guess. Another thing that was really cool is the Ember Light, which is actually, if you're thinking about like smart lights and Philips Hue, it's an integrated system, but it requires a certain type of light bulbs. The Ember Light system is actually just kind of the mounting aspect of that. All of the technology is built into the Ember Light, and then the light bulb is screwed into that. So you can turn any light that you have in your house into a smart light and then connect it in all the ways that you can, all of the other smart home lights as well. You don't need a hub. It just kind of connects into systems that you already have. Very neat, kind of low-cost way to bring, your lights into the smart home world. I was really excited about some of this VR stuff because, as you know, Megan, I've been pretty thrilled with kind of the movement of VR right now. I'm getting even more excited. A couple of things I saw here. One thing is called Bounce Imaging, and it's this little kind of circular like black ball with a bunch of cameras that are all around it. And essentially what it's for is they're designing it first of all for like first responders, let's say. So they get to a place that they can't get into. Why it's called Bounce, it's because you can throw it into an area that you can't quite get into or you don't want to get into, and it will live stream using all those cameras in full immersive 360-degree video where what's happening on the inside. So you can actually monitor everything that's happening in there without having to go in. Really neat and super durable, obviously, because you're going to be throwing this thing around, but I could totally see the consumer market getting in on it as well. And then this was probably one of my favorite things of the entire event, immersive entertainment. And now basically they had an HTC Vive on hand that I was thankfully able to finally check out, and it was really cool. So what they're doing is they're creating immersive environments. In this demo, it was the Grand Canyon, and you're on, a canoe, and basically your controller is the paddle. And I'm going along, and it's super duper cool and very immersive, looking all around. Then suddenly in front of me is a flashlight that appears. Reach out with my physical hand. What do you know? There's another controller that's now my flashlight. I hate to say it, it was the trippiest thing that I've seen in a really long time. That kind of, that immersive quality of not real meeting the real tangible world. It was really hard to explain, but I gotta say I'm even more excited about VR and specifically the HTC Vive after that demo. And finally, you may have noticed I've got another thumb ring. That's right. This is the smart ring. People make fun of me because of my one thumb ring. Now I've got two, so eat it. Anyways, NFC ring. They were on hand to kind of show off what you can do if you have NFC built into your ring. We've talked about it on All About Android, and I'm sure it was on TNT a few years ago when they first did their Kickstarter and all that kind of stuff. Cool to see it in action. But that's really about it. Just a lot of fun roaming around the demo pit and everything. Obviously, everybody that's here, they're super pumped up to be here because this is their startup. They're really just kind of here working to generate, excitement around the thing that they're really passionate about, and you really feel it in the air. So this is Launch SF 2016, and I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing what of these companies that we've seen today become the next big thing down the line. I hope things are going well for you, Megan. I know that they are. You're holding a tight ship, I'm sure. I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to you. Bye, guys.
Wow, it looks like he's having fun.
Remember that story that we just covered about mocking and enjoying VR? That story was completely on fleek.
Yeah, I mean, you can't look. Jason and I have discussed this, but yeah, I mean, you're so excited, and you got, it's different if you know the person and you know how excited they are. Like, he was pretty excited. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more about what he thought of the Hyperloop too. That's been fascinating to me. Natali, are you excited about getting shot through the Earth in a big tube in order to get someplace fast?
I'm pregnant. Not really.
Good point. I don't think I've said congratulations. So congratulations.
That's okay.
I'll let you know
Thank
how
you.
the Hyperloop is. But
Yeah,
I'm
you guys
guessing
get
it's not
stuck
going to
in
be brought to fruition before your baby is, though.
Probably not. Your child
You're
will
not
be able to
stuffing me
take
in
it.
anywhere. But I'd be game otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't have fear heights or anything like that.
All right. Well, TNT's fan of the day is Michael Shada on Google+. Michael writes, "This is how I watch TNT on my cheap Fire tablet with Bluetooth headphones and maybe with or without encryption, depending on how his device has been updated." You can show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, Facebook, anywhere you post your social medias. Also use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT and we will find it. After the break, an app that lets you blindly post a random photo from your phone camera to Facebook because life is not exciting enough. But first, let's take a minute to thank the sponsor of this episode, NatureBox. If you are trying to eat better, but you think nutrition labels are confusing, NatureBox is for you. They have a snack for everyone. They've taken out the guesswork and the frustration so you can snack confidently and stop wasting time sifting through all those nutrition labels. NatureBox has over 100 incredibly delicious snacks that are sourced from all over the world. They have vegan, they have snacks with no sugar, they have snacks with non-GMO, and you can choose between savory, sweet, salty, and tart flavors. Some of my own personal favorites are lemon almond biscotti bites and honey Dijon pretzels. There's almost nothing better than the honey Dijon pretzels. It is super easy to fill out your snack profile and get personalized recommendations based on your preferences. Plus, they're constantly adding new and interesting snacks for you to discover. NatureBox believes you should not eat something that you don't like. So, if you try a snack and it's not for you, they will replace it in your next box for free. You can't do that with most other snacks. So go to naturebox.com/TWIT right now. You get 50% off your first box of delicious and unique snacks without any of the junk. That's naturebox.com/twit for 50% off your first box of the best tasting snacks in the world. And we thank NatureBox for their support of Tech News Today. And finally, a new and rather ridiculous app that lets you play Russian roulette with your relationships. It's called Rando, and it delivers messages to friends in text messages, Twitter, Facebook, and you can include a random GIF or a random quote or even random photos taken directly from your camera roll, which is probably an excellent way to get yourself fired or divorced, depending on what's on your camera roll. What do you guys think of this app?
Was this developed on a dare? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that would make this make sense.
I think it's, you can look, they don't have to be random. You saw the blurry picture. You can tap the blurry picture and see what it is. So sometimes it might be fun to send a random picture from your photo album if you can see it before and you're sending it to the appropriate person, or a random quote. But yeah, I think this is just one of those silly apps that
I see a future for Rando Pro where you just install it and it just randomly sends messages without ever giving you a screen. I think that's the next evolution of this app. That's just so strange. I don't know, why would you do that? That sounds like a bad idea.
I think it's kind of an affectation, because do you have a friend who you're like, wow, that person's so random, but you think they're random in a good way, funny? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I have friends like that where I'm like, oh, I wish I could be that random but funny, and I get what they're saying, and the app will do it for you, but I think that's kind of cheating.
It's kind of defeating the randomness, I think.
Yeah.
So I want to be really random, so I'm going to download an app millions of others
random.
have.
Like, if I had someone to flirt with, then maybe it would make me seem like I was just so damn random that, you think, wow, she really has a sense of humor. It's like a sense of humor that doesn't belong to me.
So, Natalie, I really like you. I'd like to go out to lunch with you. Here's a picture of a fish I took 4 years ago for some reason because I like the colors on it. Here you go. That's so right.
Well, let's
strawberries and I don't know, whatever random thing you put up that would be funny because it's out of context, but it's not yours. Like, if you're gonna be random, you got to do it. Random is funny. I get it. Random's super funny.
I'm pretty sufficiently random as it is, just because I do have damaged neurons in my brain. So I don't think I need an app for that.
Well, I don't know if you use Slack at all, but Slack does this, and you just, you put in you do /Giphy or Jiffy, depending on how you pronounce it. And then, you can use a word. You can say, like, what are you talking about, or tomorrow, or yay. But sometimes it posts something very random. And with your coworkers, it can be a little bit awkward sometimes and fun.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how it's fun again, but like I said, these people that I'm thinking of, I have like really funny, brilliant people that I follow that I just know from around, and I know they do it themselves. I'm kind of like, you can't just be that person. You got to work for it.
Yeah, I get it. There used to be an app called Rando that was taken out of the App Store. It wasn't just random pictures or quotes. It would send them to random people, like that you didn't even have in your contact list, just like.
I would prefer that. That sounds even okay. That's truly random. Let's do that.
Like
in fact, here's a challenge. Hey, TNT audience, everyone listening right now, please download this app and just send a random picture to me.
Yes.
Padre@twit.tv.
Mm-hmm. You should, or post it on Twitter.
Yeah.
With the hashtag #HowI'mRandom.
How I'm random on TNT.
Yes.
There we go.
Or how I'm artificially random.
Yeah, exactly.
How I'd like to be random.
Yes, I totally get. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for joining us. I know it is late there, and congratulations on your upcoming third child. And
thanks.
I know you have some great financial advice. I follow you on Twitter, and I love knowing about the things you can write off and the things you can't write off. It's fascinating, especially during tax season. Is there anything else you want people to know about?
No, that's it. That's my main focus these days. So yeah, follow me on nataliemorris.com or all the social networks that you'd like to.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you soon.
No problem.
Take care. And thank you, Padre, for joining us too, for helping me and filling in the blanks in my encryption knowledge and my Comcast net neutrality knowledge. But sometimes I hear the word net neutrality and
I understand that. Oh, but thanks to you for loaning me your co-host, because normally it's my responsibility to do live events, and the fact that he took launch was such. I mean, I'm still recovering from Barcelona, so I very much say thank you.
Is there any video from you from Barcelona wearing a VR headset that we can use?
There is, but it's on my phone, so unless I get rando, it's probably not going
randomly
anywhere.
send it to me.
I get ill after about 10 minutes.
Is there video of that?
No. Because I dropped the phone.
Well, all right. Well, and you're going to be right up next on Know How. What are you guys doing on Know How tonight?
Right up next. This is actually a special episode that we're pre-recording because I have to cover another event next week. This is for the March 14th episode, 314, which is 3.14. Pi. So we're doing a special episode on nothing but Raspberry Pis. If you've ever wanted to build a Raspberry Pi security camera, if you've ever wanted to build a Raspberry Pi tablet, or if you've ever wanted to figure out how long you could make a Raspberry Pi run on a particular battery, you're going to want to tune in at on 3/14 or right after this, live.twit.tv.
And will there be pie to eat?
There will be pie.
Excellent. Tomorrow's guest is Ken Denmead from Geek Dad, and we're excited, and Jason will be back for that too. Tech News Today records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 12 a.m. UTC. You can see it all at twit.tv/live, and you can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. Remember, random stuff is always welcome. You can also leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW. And you can find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV. Subscribe to our show. That is the best way to get it as quickly as possible. You can do that at twit.tv/TNT. That you can find our newsletter there at twit.tv/newsletter. And if you want to tweet at me, I am at Megan Morrone. And thank you to Anthony and all the folks who help us produce this show every single day. And thanks to you for hanging out until the very end. We will see you tomorrow. We do a high five? We do a high five. You ready? Look at my elbow.
That's a lot of pressure.
Look at my elbow.
Ooh.